Hey there, and welcome! Today we are going to unlock a thinking tool that's so incredibly useful, you could honestly call it a superpower. And the best part? It's something you already do every single day. We're just going to learn how to master it. All right, let's dive in.
So, let me start with a simple question. If you had to pick a bike or a skateboard, how would you even decide? You'd probably start weighing the pros and cons in your head, right? Okay, hold on to that thought.
Because what if I told you there's a secret tool you can use to make not just this choice, but pretty much any choice, a really great one? That's what we're talking about today, the skill of thinking things through clearly and in an organized way.
So, first things first, we need to define our tools. What exactly do we mean when we say compare and contrast? Let's break them down.
First up is compare. Pretty simple, right? When you compare two things, you're just looking for what they have in common. You're trying to find the connections, the stuff that makes them similar or alike. It's all about seeing the parallels.
And then, on the flip side, we have contrast. This is where you hunt for what makes things different, what makes them unique. Contrasting helps us see the special qualities of each thing, which honestly is just as important as seeing what they share.
Okay, now this is where it gets really useful. Think of these as little clues. We call them signal words. When you're reading or listening, words like both, also, and similarly are a dead giveaway that a comparison is happening. And words like but, however, and unlike, they're basically signposts telling your brain, hey, a contrast is coming up.
All right, theory is great and all, but practice is where it really clicks. Let's go back to our example and see how this works in real life. We're going back to that big decision, bikes versus skateboards. So I'm going to read this text out loud. As I do, I want you to listen, really listen, for those signal words we just talked about. Here we go. Bicycles and skateboards both provide fun ways to get around. However, bikes are easier to balance. Skateboards, on the other hand, are more portable. Did you hear them? The words both, however, and on the other hand are key signals right there.
Okay, let's look at what we found. First up, the similarities. The text used that word both to tell us they're fun ways to get around. It also pointed out that they're both good for the environment because, no gas. That signal word both was our big clue. It pointed us straight to the comparison.
And now for the differences. The text used words like however and on the other hand to signal a shift, to show us a contrast. It pointed out that bikes are easier to balance and better for longer rides, but skateboards are way more portable. You can literally fit one in a backpack. See how those little signal words perfectly set up the differences for us?
And this brings us right back to you. Now that you have all the similarities and differences laid out so clearly, you can make a really informed choice. So, would you prefer a bike or a skateboard? Well, your answer probably depends on what you value more: easy balance for long trips or grab-and-go portability. This right here is the power of organized thinking in action.
But, this skill goes so much deeper than just choosing how to get around town. This whole process we just walked through, laying things out side by side to make a clear choice, is actually a super powerful way to understand much bigger ideas. It's about learning to see things clearly, not just to pick a winner, but to gain some real wisdom. I just love how this short poem puts it. Hold them next to each other, not to pick the better, but to see the beauty in contrast. You see, the goal isn't always to declare that one thing is superior. Sometimes the whole point is just to appreciate what makes each one unique and valuable in its own special way.
And hey, this technique is an ancient and really powerful teaching tool. It's a fun fact that many of the famous parables told by Jesus rely on this exact method. Just think about the story of the wise builder who built his house on the rock, contrasted with the foolish builder who built on the sand. By showing us these two choices side by side, the story makes the truth about having a strong foundation absolutely crystal clear.
This all connects to a really powerful principle for life. Everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. When we take the time to compare and contrast, we're literally bringing order to our own thoughts. We're organizing the chaos of information into a clear structure. And that kind of orderly thinking, that's the foundation for making wise and fitting decisions.
So as we wrap this up, what's the big takeaway here? What's the real purpose of this mental tool we've been talking about?
Well, the most important point is this. Learning to see differences clearly doesn't have to lead to division. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's how we discover what makes something truly valuable. Understanding contrast is what gives our world its color and its richness. At the end of the day, The goal is to pair this clear, orderly thinking with good judgment. By doing that, we don't just make smarter choices, we make wiser ones. The kind of choices that lead to a more peaceful and well-ordered life. And that, right there, is the real superpower of comparing for clarity.